The snow came early that year. It fell in thick, quiet sheets, burying the world in silence. And in that silence, something wild collapsed just beyond the porch light. They heard the thud around midnight, a heavy sound. Sudden, soft, Zoe Brannon and her husband were about to turn in when Riley, their black Labrador, stood up, growled once, then raced to the door. The porch was empty, but the snow told the truth. There, just beyond the steps, lay a shape curled into itself, trembling. It was a lynx, a wild one. Bleeding, barely conscious, her breath shallow in the cold. They didn't know it then, but her name would be Lyra. Zoe didn't hesitate. A retired wildlife vet, she'd seen animals in worse condition, but never this close to home. Lyra's fur was matted with blood and ice, her hind leg twisted unnaturally. She had made it just far enough to collapse near the warmth of the house. Zoe and her husband wrapped her gently in a wool blanket and carried her inside. Not into the living room, not into a kennel, into the mudroom where the temperature was. Warm enough to comfort, cool enough to keep her body calm. Riley stayed close, not growling, not barking, just watching. That first night was fragile. Lyra drifted in and out of consciousness. Her breathing ragged, paws twitching in pain. Zoe cleaned her wounds carefully, whispering the whole time. Not words to tame, just words to soothe. Riley never left her side. They thought she wouldn't survive the night, but morning came, and with it Lyra opened her eyes. She didn't panic, didn't lash out. She simply stared at Riley, then lowered her head again. Something passed between them in that moment. Not fear, not instinct. Something quieter. Recognition over the next few days. Lyra remained still. She barely ate, barely moved. Zoe did everything she could. Antibiotics, fluids, warmth. But it was Riley who made the difference. The dog slept beside her crate each night. When Lyra whimpered, Riley would gently press her nose to the wire. And slowly, Lyra stopped flinching. Zoe knew wild animals didn't bond like this, but Riley did, and Lyra accepted it. The weeks blurred into a rhythm. Zoe treated. Riley comforted. And Lyra healed. They moved her to a larger pen in the sunroom glass. Walls with a view of the snow-dusted woods. She watched the trees, but didn't seem eager to return to them. Not yet. One morning, Zoe walked in to find Riley inside the pen tail, wagging body relaxed. And Lyra, leaning against her, no one knew how the door opened. But they didn't. Close it again. Lyra chose to stay. Spring arrived gently. Lyra's wounds had healed. Her limp had faded. But she hadn't left each morning. She'd step out into the yard beside Riley. They'd walk the tree line, sniff the wind, then return. She had the strength to leave. Dude. Zoe knew it wouldn't last. But lynxes were wild. They always returned to the trees eventually, but not before something else happened. It started with a sound in the woods, pitched, desperate. Riley heard it first. She ran toward the forest stand. Lyra followed. When Zoe caught up, what she found stopped her breath. A baby fox no more than 4 weeks old, trapped between fallen logs. Legs scraped and bleeding, eyes wide with panic, Riley barked, backing away. But Lyra stepped forward, carefully, slowly. She reached into the gap with her paw knot to hurt, to pull, and when the kit was free, she didn't flee. She nuzzled him like a mother, like someone who remembered what it meant to be broken and found. They brought the fox home, cried until Lyra lay beside him, and then he slept. They named him Finn. Lyra took to him instantly. She groomed him, guarded him, taught him to walk again with gentle nudges, and Riley, patient and kind, stood beside them. Both not jealous, not confused, just part of something bigger than instinct. A bond built not on blood, but healing by summer. Finn was running fast, free, happy, but he always circled back to Riley. Back to Lyra. The porch became a sanctuary, the forest their playground, the house at home for something unexplainable. 3 lives, 3 species, 1 unbreakable thread. Zoe often sat on the steps at dusk, watching them. The lynx, the dog, the fox, wild and domestic, feral and tame, but somehow, family. One morning, Lyra stood at the edge of the woods, looked back only once, then vanished. Riley didn't chase. Finn didn't cry. They simply watched, because they knew she wasn't leaving them. She was carrying their love with her back into the wild, and somewhere, someday, she'd bring it to someone else who needed saving. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Pawthos, where rescue meets the wild, and love always finds a way. Every animal deserves a chance to be seen, to be healed, to be loved. Support rescue. Choose compassion. And never stop believing in the bonds that defy nature, change lives.